Trump administration officials admitted to a, quote, administrative error that they made when they deported a Maryland father with protected legal status to a prison in El Salvador. They said that the court is unable to bring him back now, even though the U.S. government is paying for him to be detained there in El Salvador. The accidental deportation came despite the fact that, quote, ICE was aware of his protection from removal status. The man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, fled El Salvador due to gang violence. And The Atlantic reports that in 2019, quote, a U.S. immigration judge found he would likely be targeted by gangs if he were deported back. They add that Abrego Garcia, who is married to a U.S. citizen and has a 5-year-old disabled child who is also a U.S. citizen, has no criminal record in the United States, according to his attorney.
My question is actually related to all of the immigrants that are being rounded up and deported. Are they entitled to due process?
A lot of these people, what President Trump did last time, what he tried, if you seek asylum, wait in the other country, don't get it here in the country. So there is no due process if you don't even live because you violated the law. Period. You violated the law. It is violating the law, and that's why we need to make sure we take this.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network. If you've been wondering when the constitutional crisis would arrive, we're in it. The Trump administration has abandoned any pretense of due process. It is openly flouting the Constitution, and its functionaries are breaking laws with such wanton disregard that it makes you wonder if their ultimate plan for avoiding accountability is to stay in power forever. Let me explain what the abandonment of due process means. It means that anyone accused has no process by which they can demonstrate their innocence. If you are swept off the street, kidnapped by this administration, the Constitution is supposed to guarantee your right to appear in court to make your case. Not anymore, according to this government. And if you're one of those people who says, this could never happen to me, I'm safe because I'm a law-abiding U.S. citizen, without due process, there is no mechanism by which to prove your innocence or even your citizenship status. That's what the abandonment of due process means. We truly are in uncharted territory as a country, and I can't think of anyone better to talk to about this than everyone's favorite anti-fascist, Kris Goldsmith. Welcome to the Ken Harbaugh Show. We've got Kris Goldsmith back. He's the CEO and founder of Task Force Butler, which tracks and holds accountable extremists across the country. The foxes are in the hen house, Kris. The extremists are in the White House. And I mean, it's hard to pick which outrage to talk about on any given week, but reading about what has happened to some of these people deported to El Salvador, watching a Republican representative say, if you break the law, you don't get due process, and watching a young woman being swept off the street by masked thugs, a classmate of my daughter's at Tufts University. I mean, the chill that should be running through the American body politic, I don't know how to describe it, but it makes me furious.
While DHS carries out the abductions, it is the Secretary of State who's officially making the call on who and why these students are abducted off of the streets and tried to be deported. This was how Marco Rubio explained his abduction on Tuesday.
Oh, we revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa.
And to be clear, there's absolutely no evidence that this young woman has engaged in any of the activity that Marco Rubio has just talked about. She has not been charged with any crime from the Department of Justice or any prosecutors. Keep in mind that Republicans have been pretending throughout all of this to be the champions of free speech in America for the past few years.
Yeah, a lot of people are still, wondering out loud, playing these what if games, like what if the Trump administration does this? When do we enter a constitutional crisis? We're here. We're there. They this man, the Venezuelan man that they kidnapped and sent to El Salvador, country that he's not from, that man had legally protected status. He was married to an American. He was gainfully employed. An immigration judge found that he had reason to fear for his life, and that's why he was given protected status. Knowing this, the Trump-Musk DOJ still deported this man. And the most chilling thing about it is in their legal filings, this Department of Justice is not presenting any evidence that this man is a gang member, simply saying that a source alleged that this person is a gang member and that this man, the victim, did not prove that he was not a gang member. It is a violation of our foundational constitutional rights, of our Bill of Rights, the right to due process, to put a defendant in the position of having to prove their innocence. I know that, a lot of Americans only know of law what we see on television or what maybe we read in fantasy novels or something like that, right? But the foundational idea behind our court system is, like, everyone knows the Miranda rights. You have a right to remain silent. You have a right to not even have to defend yourself, because if the government comes to you and accuses you of doing something that it's impossible for you to have done, it's up to them to prove that you did it. It's not up to you to prove that you have an alibi. That is not a requirement. The requirement for a successful prosecution and ultimately punishment is you have to be found guilty. And the Trump administration is deliberately moving us away from that. So we have entered the what if, we were in 1930s Germany scenario, where innocent people are being kidnapped by the federal government and are being put into concentration camps. Because let's not beat around the bush. That is what they are doing right now.
Hey, it's Ken Harbaugh. Huge shout out to everyone who has supported this show via our Patreon page. If you want to weigh in with questions for upcoming guests or give us feedback on past guests or make sure you never miss an episode, click the link below. It's free to sign up. And if you're able to pitch in a few bucks a month, just know that we put every dollar back into the show. We do have another reporting trip to Ukraine coming up. Thanks for the help. I'm sure a lot of Americans will say, yeah, but this wasn't an American citizen. I'm still safe. But let me just articulate what the elimination of due process means. It means you have no recourse if the government says, no, you're not an American citizen. If there's no due process, you can't prove you are, right? If there's no due process, you can't prove that you weren't there when they said you were, or you didn't commit this crime when you said you did. Due process is the mechanism by which you argue your case. And what they're effectively saying is that the executive branch, with Trump at its head, becomes judge, jury, and executioner. The elimination of due process sidelines an entire branch of government, the courts, and removes them from the process of adjudicating right and wrong, what's fair and unfair, and what's legal and illegal.
Yeah, and we have people who are very intelligent, who are lawyers. Nobody likes Ted Cruz, but I'm not going to argue that he's an idiot. Ted Cruz is a very intelligent guy. He is a lawyer. The man knows the law very well. And when confronted about this specific case, Ted Cruz is saying, oh, are you really defending a gang member? There's no proof presented by the government no evidence presented by the government that this person is in fact a gang member. Ted Cruz continued saying, well, enough of my people have been raped and killed, so I don't care. That justification should be chilling to everyone, because I am a veteran. I am an anti-fascist. I am a former member of the most effective, powerful anti-fascist organization on the planet, and that is the United States Army. No one has a better record on this planet. The United States Army is the best anti-fascist organization on the planet. But now, as a civilian, I run an organization called Veterans Fighting Fascism. That is now, it wasn't supposed to be, but here we are. It is now in direct opposition to the fascist government that we are experiencing here in the United States. Now, I know the trolls are going to come into the comments and say, oh, you didn't define fascism. It's on my website. Go to taskforcebutler.org. What is fascism is a whole page. It's very long. You can read it. We know what fascism is. We are living under a fascist regime, and I think that it's not too many steps. I don't do the slippery slope thing. I do not do it. That is a fallacy that I'm not going to engage in. But where we are today, I do not think that it is unrealistic at all to have the Trump administration declare Antifa, anti-fascism, to be a gang. They tried to do it during the first administration. Frankly, I don't know why they haven't done it yet. I fully expect during the next 3.5+ years that Antifa will be declared an international terrorist organization. I will be labeled as a member of an international terrorist organization. And the justification for not caring about the due process rights for alleged gang members or alleged terrorists by Senator Ted Cruz and those like him makes it pretty clear that should the Trump-Musk administration kidnap me and put me in a concentration camp in the middle of the night, that Ted Cruz won't care when I get sent overseas. Doesn't matter that I'm a United States Army veteran. Doesn't matter that I served in combat for this country. Doesn't matter that I have been working for nearly 20 years since I got home from Iraq on behalf of veterans, working with Senator Cruz's office, as frustrating as that may be. We got good work done together. But he will consider me unworthy of due process should the Trump-Musk administration declare me to be a terrorist, declare me to be a gang member. That is where we are going. And again, this isn't a slippery slope argument. It's where we are.
That was part 1 of my conversation with Kris Goldsmith. Check out part 2 tomorrow, where Kris and I dive into just how shameless the current administration is in its attempts to cover up its misdeeds and then lie outright when caught. See you tomorrow.